begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
Yes, that's fine. Good.
We're on the air. Hey, good morning, everybody. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York State Urban Development Corporation doing business as Empire State Development for this Thursday, July 20th, 2023. All staff members who are joining us remotely today, please mute your audio until you're ready to speak. I'd like to note that the public was given an opportunity to attend our meeting today, and nobody from the public is present. Also, the public was given an opportunity to comment on any of the items on the agenda, and no written comments have been submitted on any of the agenda items. All board members have been provided with all the backup materials for every item on the agenda as well. And of course, they could raise issues or questions on anything at the appropriate time when, if they have any questions on any of those items. If any directors have any potential conflicts with any agenda items, I'd ask you that you identify them at the appropriate time as well, so we could disclose it on the record and have you recuse yourself from any potential conflict. So that is the preliminary thing I always have to read to start off every meeting. And before we get to the agenda, I always like to go around the table and have everybody introduce themselves, since we have, I think, a couple of new faces here today. And it's always good for the board members as well. So I'll start with our esteemed CEO and President, Hope.
Hope Knight, President and CEO, ESD.
Hilda Rosario Escher, Director.
Benson Martin, Designee, Department of Financial Services.
Good morning, Mike Yevely. I'm the Regional Director for the Capital Region Office.
Good morning, Goldie Wexel, Acting Counsel at ESD.
Felisa Hawkeiser, Director of Compliance.
Ray Orlando, Chief Financial Officer.
Joe Taswell, New York City Regional Director.
Joan Spivak, Life Sciences.
John Evan Hornsby, President, Empire State New Market Corporation.
Carlene Turner-Beverly, Senior Counsel and Ethics Officer.
Liz Luskin, Executive Vice President, Small Business and Technology Development.
Jason Clark, Executive Vice President, Division of Minority and Women Business Development.
Arden Zakulo, Executive Vice President for Real Estate and Planning.
Kevin Eunice, COO, Empire State Development.
John Wong, Board of Director.
Michael Rosen, Director.
Great. Well, good morning, and thank you, everybody. And we have staff on the sidelines with us who keep trains running and make this meeting happen. So we thank you for your service as well. And we have a whole bunch of staffers on the phone. So let's get right to the agenda. Our first action is the approval of the May 22nd, 2023 Directors Meeting. We don't have the June meeting minutes yet, so we'll have to approve them at the next meeting, but we will be approving the minutes for May. I will move them. Hilda seconds them. Any comments, revisions, additions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The minutes are approved, and we'll now go to our agenda report, starting with Hope Knight for her President and CEO's report.
Thank you, Kevin, and good morning, directors. I hope everyone's doing well and enjoying the summer. We've had an active start to the summer here at ESD. At the end of June, President Biden announced that New York State would receive more than $664 million in federal broadband equity access and deployment, which are known as BEAD funds. This is the largest single investment in the Connect All program, and it follows a $100 million award from the Treasury Department's Coronavirus Capital Projects Fund, announced in May by Governor Hochul. These funds will primarily be used for providing fiber optic infrastructure to unserved and underserved locations in New York. Congratulations to Josh Breitbart and the entire team. Josh was actually at the White House for the announcement, as this was a great win to support our Connect All efforts. And we have great gratitude for President Biden, Senator Schumer, Gillibrand, New York's congressional delegation, and Governor Hochul for all their support. Just last week, Governor Hochul announced that Menlo Microsystems is coming to Tompkins County. The company will invest more than $50 million to build a microelectronics fabrication facility in the southern tier and create over 100 new good-paying jobs. Menlo Micro makes hyper-efficient switches, which are vital across many industries like aerospace, energy, and communications. They're also part of the greater semiconductor ecosystem and will help support industry growth in upstate New York. ESD is supporting this project with Excelsior Job Program tax credits. Menlo Micro already has active partnerships with SUNY Poly and the University at Albany, with hopes to expand its research and workforce development partnerships to other schools across New York State. Earlier this week, we had some exciting news in Puerto Rico. Thanks to a new partnership, wines from Dr. Constantine Frank Winery in the Finger Lakes will be available for purchase at the New York State Office of Trade and Tourism in San Juan. This marks the first time that New York State wines will be available to the Puerto Rican market, which has demonstrated a growing demand for fine wine. Initially, Dr. Frank's Riesling and Rosé will be offered, and we hope that this opens the door for more wineries. The craft beverage industry is an important one to New York State, and it's one of ESD's strategic business development industries. This announcement shows that the connection between New York and Puerto Rico transcends culture and history. There's really an economic partnership. This was a result of a great collaborative effort between ESD and Betty Enriquez, the director of the Office of Trade and Tourism, and Stephen Fleming, our craft beverage industry lead, and New York's Department of Agriculture and Markets. Cheers to the partnership. And finally, on Tuesday, Governor Hochul announced a series of executive actions to address the state's housing crisis. ESD has played an important role in this effort, and some of the specifics are before the board today for consideration. Housing is a critical piece of any comprehensive economic development strategy. Businesses need a strong workforce to grow, and housing is crucial to growing that workforce. Housing has been a top priority for the governor's administration, and we're eager to do what we can to support her agenda. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Hope. Any board members have any questions for Hope? So, I'm going to take something out of order since it's just a nice segue because, as you said, the governor is really trying to address the housing crisis, and I think she's come up with a really creative idea to do things within our own agencies or in the executive branch. And so we do have an item on the agenda related to that. So I'll skip the first item and we'll go to the second item, and we'll go to Arden, who's going to brief us on what Hope just referenced and what Governor Hochul announced the other day regarding a potential NEAT initiative in the Gowanus section of Brooklyn. So Arden, the floor is yours, and then we'll get to Arturo.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, directors. The directors are requested to authorize the implementation and administration of the Gowanus Neighborhood Mixed Income Program and the adoption of the program guidelines. Earlier this week, as Hope said, Governor Hochul announced a series of executive housing actions designed to spur residential development through New York State to address the growing housing crisis. Included in this announcement was the Gowanus Neighborhood Mixed Income Program, which is designed to advance residential projects halted by the expiration of the 421A-16 property tax exemption, also known as Affordable New York. Through the program, Empire State Development would provide tax relief for residential development within the boundaries of the City of New York's Gowanus neighborhood rezoning, and I believe there's a map in your materials. As some background, in 2021, the New York City Planning Commission approved the Gowanus neighborhood rezoning. The approval culminated a multi-year community engagement process that developed a shared long-term vision for the area, which the Commission determined to be a neighborhood in need of widespread remediation of large, underdeveloped, and underutilized brownfield sites with rich transit access. The Commission determined that the Gowanus neighborhood rezoning would create more than 8,500 new residential units, with approximately 3,000 new affordable homes as a result of the mandatory inclusionary housing program. Further, the Commission determined that the rezoning would encourage economic and job growth, facilitate brownfield remediation, foster safe and more active streets, create a vibrant, accessible, and resilient waterfront, generate new community resources, and support the overall remediation of the Gowanus Canal. However, the redevelopment potential of this rezoning and all of those corresponding benefits was inextricably linked to the availability of the Affordable New York program, and this program expired in June of 2022. Many projects in Gowanus and citywide sought to vest under the program by commencing construction, which generally means putting footings into the ground. However, the statute also requires that not only construction commence by last June, but that projects be completed by June of 2026. For this purpose, completed means receiving temporary certificate of occupancy for all residential units. The uncertainty around these completion requirements has deterred residential development from moving forward, leaving many sites inactive and undeveloped. The immense promise of the Gowanus rezoning, including the delivery of thousands of affordable units, has been stalled. To address this, ESD will release a request for applications this week on our website to solicit and identify projects in the target area that have vested under the Affordable New York program but cannot move forward. Once identified, ESD will begin a process to negotiate leases and other agreements with applicants and seek the necessary approvals and reviews to acquire the properties and lease them back with the pilot structure in place that largely replicates the requirements and the benefits of the Affordable New York program, but with a notable exception. Unlike Affordable New York, all affordable units must remain permanently affordable. So to apply for this program, applicants must meet the following criteria. It must be located in the Special Gowanus Mixed-Use District Plan. It must be vested under the Affordable New York program by June 15th. It must have vested by June 15th, 2022. It must provide for at least 50 residential units. All units will be registered as rent stabilized that would have been required to be rent stabilized under Affordable New York, provided further that all affordable units will comply with Affordable New York except that they shall be permanently affordable. At the time of the application submission, the proposed plans for the site must comply with the site's underlying zoning district regulations, applicable local building and construction codes, and all other regulatory requirements for construction. Project cannot be receiving any other residential tax exemption abatement credit except tax credits related to brownfield cleanup program or any other environmental remediation program. Must be able to provide evidence of ownership or a path to imminent ownership. Must comply with ESD's minority and women-owned business enterprises and contracting requirements, and must accept ESD's lease terms and other contracting requirements, including, but not limited to, indemnification, insurance, administrative fees, cost agreements, responsibility requirements, including financial and organizational capacity, legal authority, integrity, and previous experience evidencing ability to complete the proposed development. A site must receive a temporary certificate of occupancy for all residential units within 48 months of the ESD transaction closing. However, the 48-month timeline for receiving the TCO may be extended at the discretion of ESD. Our process will address all requirements under the UDC Act and adhere to all environmental regulations. ESD will seek to standardize this process for the eligible developments, and developers will be expected to sign a form of the ground lease with ESD, a form of the pilot agreement, as well as other program documents. Program staff will bring the specific transactions back to the ESD directors for their consideration and approval prior to entering into any purchase lease or associated documents and closing these transactions. The transactions will be brought to the Public Authorities Control Board for their review. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, Arden, thank you very much. That was very clear and concise. I think it's also very clever. Sort of a clever workaround of the stalemate that happened in Albany this year. So just one clarification and two questions. So the board, we're just approving the parameters of the program and sending forth what the application process will be. No specific project is being approved today, and when applications are submitted and reviewed and approved by staff, then they'll come before the board in some future date. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool. And then two questions. the MWBE requirement, was that also a requirement in the 421A program, or is that new for this program?
It is not a requirement under the previous Affordable New York program. It is a requirement of the ESD program.
Got it, thank you. And the last question, the date, June 2022, if that is sort of the date where they have had to have had some type of shovel in the ground or footing in the ground, doesn't that mean we could sort of quantify how many potential projects would actually be there? And, or did everybody stick a shovel in the ground to try to meet that June 2022 deadline?
That's an excellent question. We cannot quantify the universe yet because we don't know how many projects got into the ground and are anticipating meeting the 2026 deadline and therefore would not take part in our program. And we don't know how, because they haven't had to apply to any agency for their Affordable New York benefits, we don't know what the universe is of the projects that have vested.
Got it. But, if there was a physical inspection of all the sites on your map.
Could we tell where there's footings?
We could probably tell.
We could go up, take a trip to Gowanus after this.
Got it. And on that map, I lied, I said 2 questions. 3 questions. So on that map, all the different subsections of the Gowanus district, each one of the subsection wasn't just one project, like there could be a couple of different projects within those sub-districts.
Correct.
Got it. All right, great. I really think it's a very clever and neat and exciting proposal, and the governor should be commended, for coming up with it. And I think it's appropriate for us to implement it and get it going. But before we move, I'll just ask any other questions from any other board members.
No, where is the Gowanus district?
In Brooklyn.
Oh, Brooklyn. Okay.
Sorry, maybe your map didn't give you enough context of where it was.
I haven't looked at the map.
The Gowanus Canal.
It was a little too zoomed in.
It's had a lot of history of prior industrial use, and so that's why there's a lot of brownfield opportunities there. But it also has good access to mass transit, so really a ripe area for transit-oriented development. So a lot of good opportunities there. So, any other questions from board members?
I just have a comment.
Sure.
I want to commend Arden and her team. They've spent a lot of time
on this. Great. Yeah, I could tell, and that's why I thought it was a very good presentation. So I'll echo Hope's comments, Arden. So thank you. Your sort of first big initiative here since coming on, and so in addition to the 100 other projects that you're working on, but new initiative. So good luck with that.
Thank you.
So I will move it. Michael will second it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. All right. Thank you, Arden. So now let's go backwards on the agenda into what was going to be the first item. So Arturo Rodriguez, our Senior Project Manager for Loans and Grants, has a neat program for us to consider regarding a commuter van stabilization grant program. Arturo, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning. The directors are being requested to authorize program guidelines and in doing so create the new commuter van stabilization grant program. The $11 million program was appropriated in the 2022-2023 New York State budget and aims to assist commuter van operators in New York through insurance subsidy support for the purpose of addressing cost disparities in the insurance market. The program will grant funds for auto insurance subsidies and commuter van safety, technology, and equipment upgrades that will attempt to stabilize the commuter van industry by helping to reduce the frequency and severity of incidents and mitigate operational and insurance risks and costs. The program will be administered by Dollar Ride Incorporated. To be eligible, applicants must be a current commuter van driver or be in the process of obtaining a commuter van license, which provides or will provide TLC-approved commuter van services to the public in a TLC-approved commuter van vehicle. Applicants must also be incorporated in New York State or licensed or registered to do business in New York State. Owner-operators considered 1099 workers will also be eligible. The program will provide grants for eligible applicants on a first-come, first-served basis. Safety upgrades will be paid for directly by Dollar Ride Incorporated to approved vendors and will be subsidized by program appropriations. Insurance program subsidies will go directly through an insurance broker to an insurance carrier appointed by Dollar Ride and approved by ESD. Insurance subsidy grants will be based on the established supported base rates based on feedback from the New York Automobile Insurance Plan and selected base rates based on feedback from commuter van operators and vehicle owners, excluding discounts and surcharges. Eligible vehicle safety upgrades will include in-vehicle telematics, surround cameras, automatic hazard warning lights when the vehicle is about to stop, and passenger safety information alerting passengers of certain dangers such as walking in front of vehicles when entering or after exiting commuter vans. A behavioral training program will also be offered to commuter van drivers. ESD will initially implement a screening tool for applicants to determine eligibility in the program, which will then be followed by an application portal to document and verify eligibility. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Arturo. Any questions from any of the board members on this program that we previously received information on? Hearing none, I will move it. John Wang seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Arturo. Okay, next up is our spotlight presentation, and today we're happy to have Mike Yavalli, Regional Director of ESD's Capital Region, to present on the Capital Region area. Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hope, directors, again, thank you. Colleagues, happy to be here. I actually looked, the last time I made this presentation was 7 years ago at the July meeting, so it's interesting to be back.
We like to bring you down in July.
I visited my friend at Howard Beach, too. I took the train, and from there it was a very interesting morning so far. So I don't get a text from Kevin that I'm running too long, I'm going to make sure I move very quickly. So I have four sections. I want to give you a quick profile. We're going to talk a little bit about REDC strategy. We're going to talk about projects, and I'm going to talk about our team at the Capital Region. So, of course, I pulled out some selected facts to highlight about the region, but one of the things we're really, really excited about is the fact that our region has been growing, and that hasn't always been the case. So, if you just look at some of these facts, one, thanks to our friends at U.S. News and World Reports, we rank as one of the best places to live in New York State. We're one of 2 regions to grow population. We're the #1 region in state of receiving domestic migration. And we have the fastest growing county, Greene County, and also the county, Saratoga County, with the largest population gain. So I think a lot of that, post-pandemic had a little bit of an effect, like we've seen in the Mid-Hudson region, as well as people were relocating out of the metro area. We're a region of diversity. 8 counties that range from the north to south, from the Adirondack Park to the north, through the Hudson and Mohawk Valleys to the Catskill Park in the south. So very diverse. I'm going to read a few facts here related to that. We are, again, one of the best places to live in New York State from U.S. News and World Report. That same report put us at 21st best place to live in the U.S., 11th best place for millennials from Homebuyer Magazine, 8th most affordable markets by income from Rocket Mortgage, 19th best place to raise a kid in the country from Smart Assets, and 21 best cities for gay couples. So this diversity, is really a part of the communities we have. Just a great quality of life throughout the region and many, many, many options to live. I would be remiss because we have Glens Falls on the map there that you're enjoying a product from Glens Falls, Just Water. That water brand there is bottled at its source at Wells in Glens Falls, and actually I shouldn't say bottled. It's a very sustainable organization, so it's packaged in Glens Falls. So there's a product right there for you. I didn't bring that. That was here. Moving on a little bit about strategy in the REDCs. We're really focused on R&D. Our main vision and goal is to grow our economy, but specifically focusing on those clusters that we have a strong base in commercialization of R&D assets. And to name those, semiconductors, of course, is one, clean energy, software, IT, digital gaming, life sciences, and RD. And I'm just going to take a moment to just highlight two of those. Well, first, before I do that, I apologize. Just representative of some of those companies we have in the region that make up our sectors, and all leaders in their industry. So we're very proud for this select group that we have on this slide. But taking a look at semiconductors, I would dare say the industry sector really germinated out of the capital region, out of Albany Nanotech and UAlbany. 20 years ago, those numbers would be in the hundreds, if that. But you're now looking at over 9,000 jobs in the capital region alone related to semiconductor. Of course, a lot of those are related to R&D and the work taking place also at Albany Nanotech. But that sector has grown successfully. Global Foundries has grown successfully, and they have announced projects to continue to grow. So as we see this industry grow across the state, we're very happy to see it continue to be very strong in the capital region. And also in R&D, and there's a little duplication in those numbers. Some of those R&D jobs from semiconductor, of course, are included in these numbers. But we have, for a metro area of our size, just exponentially larger than most amount of R&D assets and projects. I'm not going to go through all the numbers, but you can just see the magnitude of that industry, again, for a region of our size. As all REDCs and really all regional office operate, it's not just about our core mission of economic development, creating jobs. We're much more comprehensive. Just like ESD's strategies, the 4-pillar strategies that we follow, each regional council has their own strategies. Ours are very similar. We focus, of course, workforce, gateway, having inland ports, and having good access to Canada and other areas. That's a big focus for ours. Next Tech, really just focusing as a catch-all to focus on any growing industry sectors that we have. And both Magnet and Core are really focused on community strategies and trying to diversify our communities and make sure we uplift those that need to be uplifted. Implementing that strategy through projects is very important. This is just a slide that kind of gives you an idea. These are both ESD and other significant priority projects through the regional council projects that have taken place since 2011. So you can see we're very geography diverse there in implementing our strategy. But it's not all about projects. Again, strategy is important. During our work this year, looking at workforce development, we really identified a major issue in our healthcare industry and took it upon ourselves as a regional council to study this. We commissioned a report. That report has been completed. I suggest if anybody has this concerns across the state, please take a look at what we have here. I think we did a lot of work. We worked with 17 different healthcare employers and training providers. We had a core group of the heads of all of the hospital medical institutions as part of this. And we really got to brass tacks about what was going on because we had significant issues. If we're not able to take a transfer, that transfer goes to Boston, that transfer goes to New York City. The economic value doesn't stay in the region, and the hardship on the patient and the family is exponentially greater. So workforce was a big issue in making that happen, and it's already starting to, I think, get better statewide and nationally, but there's a lot of good work here on trying to get people trained into that workforce. Moving on to some signature projects, I picked 4 projects that are both meet an ESD pillar and also one of the ESD or one of the REDC strategies. First up, Plug Power expansion. Hydrogen fuel cell technology developer, a long growing startup company in the region. They came out of GE. You can see the governor and Hope in both of those pictures. I think the most important thing to note here on this is those pictures are less than a year apart. So they broke ground and they built a 350,000 square foot facility to make hydrogen fuel cells in less than 1 year. Wow. Yep. And they're well on their way to create the 1,633 jobs. Really to note about Plug Power, it's not just the Capital Region. They have assets across the state, particularly in the Finger Lakes, and they're continuing to grow and to continuing to have conversation with us in the Strategic Business Division. Next up, really this is projects, offshore wind. It's really an initiative. Of course, it's an initiative statewide, but in our region, because we are blessed with pretty substantial inland port facilities, we've become sort of the hotbed for OME development. The Port of Albany being the centerpiece of that is well underway in developing a site. We have a $5 million CFA grant to help that. Plus they have, of course, quite a bit of resources from NYSERDA. And that 85-acre site is underway, and that'll be Equinor's partners with Marmon and Welcon to build the towers, the actual towers for the offshore wind deployment. Port of Queens, privately owned port, is just really continuing to grow. I wish I could point, but that's in the bottom, that larger building on the left-hand side of that picture. That was an ESD project for a barge repair facility in anticipation of the amount of barge traffic that's going to be going up and down the river and into the offshore deployment that as they take place. Mr. Chairman, I put this on here for you because I know you've asked me a couple times when I'm presenting how things are going in Schenectady and referencing the site. So, fantastic project. This was a former Alco site, American Locomotive site. They made locomotive engines. It was shuttered the year before I was born, and this project didn't take place probably 8 years ago. So for most of my life, this was a brownfield, testimony to brownfields across the Northeast. So today it's a $600 million project, includes Rivers Casino, new residential opportunities with condominiums and apartments, multiple lodging operations and options, retail dining in the first floor, Class A office space, Beekman 1882, a brand that you might be familiar with, operates out of there. And they actually built that harbor that you see. That harbor was dredged and built to support the boat docks.
The casino did the dredging?
No.
The city did?
No, Gillespie Group. Okay. Gillespie's the developer. They did the Mohawk Harbor. They had a pad site that the casino then selected. So the casino, understand all of our incentives went for everything on that property but the casino.
Right.
So you take, the casino is about $300 million, so it's about half of that total $600 million project. But our main ESD project, a brownfield tax credit project, was based on that $300 million Mohawk Harbor piece, the mixed-use piece.
Right, and you had it on the other screen. Does GE still have a presence in Schenectady?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, how sizable? I know it's not what it was 30, 40 years ago, but how sizable is it?
So they have their GE Global Research headquarters is still in Niskayuna, where they do their global research. I don't have the numbers there, but I think they're around 3,000 overall in the state. Most are in Schenectady.
Great.
And then there's still steam power generation manufacturing taking place, and they just did an announcement for I'll call it onshore wind development. So they're going to be doing some onshore wind development in some of the facilities there. So that was one of the first, and SBD worked on that project. It was one of the first new projects they've announced in a while. So that was a real good shot in the arm for everybody in Schenectady. And then finally, on the workforce side of things, BOCES, I think Hope you were at that ribbon cutting. $30 million project, just state-of-the-art training center. There's just so much goes on there. Automotive, nursing, welding. Just very, very focused on our local workforce needs and addressing the needs of folks that need to uplift themselves into new careers. So very successful project, and we're looking to do much more with our training providers to make sure we have that workforce we need. So how do we do this? Well, this team, we have a pretty dynamic regional office in Troy. Heidi, our deputy director, has just recently been promoted. Joe and Heidi do most of the origination in the office. Of course, Devin keeps us all straight. We have one vacant position. But in addition to our own regional office staff, we house a number of other folks, including a number of Brendan's people, project managers. So the people below work statewide. Those project managers will manage projects not just for our region, but for regions across the state. Catherine works for Global New York. She covers multiple regions in the Global New York program. And Ethan does design construction work mostly on major projects. He'll be out, at the SUNY Poly. I think he did the Legoland. I'm sure he probably will be somehow involved in Micron, that type of work. So it's great to have them with us, and it's great that they're with us because it's good for the project managers to see projects from start to finish. They're very integrated in what we do and participate a lot more than just behind the computer. So it's really, I think, a great asset for them to be part of the regional office. I just want to do a shout out. Linda, who retired, is responsible for a lot of the success stories I just highlighted. So I just really wanted to highlight she retired this year after many, many years of service here. And, just taught me a lot along the way. And it's been great to work with her, and we're going to miss her dearly. And my final thank you is to Layla, our summer intern. We did this for the first time and we'll never go back again. She was fantastic. She helped do the layout of this presentation. She helped set us up for our social media. We're going to be unveiling some social media assets, and she's just fantastic. So if anybody sees her when she's graduate, don't let her go. So. And that's what I have. That's just a closeout slide of what we do and how we do it.
Well, Michael, thank you. That was terrific, and really exciting to see everything that's going on. I've been to every county that you mentioned. I love that section of the state, and it's just so cool that we have such a diverse state, and every region is neat, and it's always great to learn, get down into the weeds a little bit as to what's going on in the specific region. So I know I always benefit from these presentations, and I think I speak on behalf of the entire board. We all do. And that's great. And I think what's also cool is you have a relatively small team, and I think that's the same with most of the regional offices, and it's amazing how much work you get done. And so to your team and to all the staff in the regional offices where, the feet and the boots are on the ground, implementing a lot of the things that are sort of done through central, thank you. And thank you to all the regional offices and the, employees there. So great. Any board members have any questions or comments for Michael? All right. Well, good job and enjoy downstate.
Thank you.
Okay. We will continue with the agenda now with the regional projects section. And we'll start off in Western New York, and we have two presenters at 6 items and 6 separate votes. And we're going to start with Paul Tronalone, our VP of Policy and Planning in Western New York, and he has 2 projects for us.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Directors. Like I said, we have 2 items for me before I hand it off to our Regional Director, Karen Utz. Both of the items I have involve amendments to existing general project plans. For the first item, the Directors are asked to amend a general project plan that would provide Michigan Broadway LLC, and I should note that I accidentally transposed the name of that company to Broadway Michigan in the agenda and in the heading of the materials, but in the body it's correct. It would provide the company an additional $800,000 to an already awarded $610,000 grant for a now estimated $7.7 million project involving the historic restoration of a mixed-use property at the main intersection along the Michigan Street African American Heritage Corridor in Buffalo. The project to date has yielded 18 apartments and 1 street-level storefront commercial space, which now houses the Buffalo chapter of the NAACP. Now, the additional funds will address significant cost increases associated with collapses of key roof and floor segments of the building over the course of the project construction, which has impacted the long-term viability of the project, and in the near term have delayed the ability to full completion of the remaining storefronts of the complex. Now, under the terms of the amendment, $600,000 would help offset a portion of those cost overruns, and $200,000 would assist the completion of those storefront spaces, which is a significant asset in the Heritage Corridor. The additional funding would come from the Buffalo Regional Innovation Cluster 1718, also known as the Buffalo Billion Phase 2 or Part 2. Now, for the second item, the directors are requested to amend a general project plan to provide an additional $500,000 in capital funds to an already awarded $2.5 million initiative to the city of North Tonawanda for a smart growth initiative, which has involved various infrastructure and building activities to improve street level amenities and connectivity to that city's downtown and Erie Canal waterfront to promote a dense walkable setting and a greater sense of place. The amended total of the funding of $3 million towards a total $13.2 million initiative is also part of the Buffalo Regional Innovation Cluster 1718. The additional $500,000 would specifically go to assist a proposed infill development at 110 Sweeney Street at Main Street along that city's Erie Canal Harbor or Erie Canal Gateway Harbor. This added component proposes a two-story, 21,000 square feet mixed-use building that would include 15 residential units and a ground floor commercial space, specifically a restaurant use, in a key downtown location in proximity to a series of complementary ESD-funded downtown investments. Together with an already awarded Restore grant of $200,000, the added funding would provide $700,000 on this roughly $5.4 million project component. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Paul. On the second project, the Tonawanda, no, on the first one, the
first one?
Michigan, Cluster 1718, does that mean it was approved, the funding was approved in the year 2017, 2018, or does that 1718 have some other significance?
1718 was the year the Buffalo Billion 2 was approved in the state budget. That's 2017, 2018 budget, and that was reallocated subsequent budget years.
Got it. And the Regional Innovation Cluster Program is sort of a subset of the old Buffalo Billion?
That is the New York State budget title for what we refer to as Buffalo Billion. That's how it was lined out in the state budget.
Got it. Thank you, Paul. Any questions from any other directors? All right, so we got to take these one at a time. So for the first item, for the Broadway, Michigan mixed-use redevelopment, I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. And for the North Tonawanda project, I will move it. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Paul. Let's move on to Karen Utz, the Regional Director of ESD's Western New York region, and she has 4 projects for us. And Karen, let's do it one at a time. After you make the presentation, let us take a vote, then move on to the second one, and we'll take a vote, et cetera.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. Very good. Good morning, directors. The directors are requested to approve a $400,000 capital grant from round 6 of the Regional Council Capital Fund to the Jacobs Institute for a portion of the cost of a $2 million project. The Jacobs Institute is a nonprofit vascular medical device innovation center. They are strategically co-located in a building on the Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus with a world-class university research institute, the University of Buffalo's Clinical and Translational Research Center, and a state-of-the-art hospital, Kaleida Health Gates Vascular Institute. Funds were used to build out the Jacobs Institute's Idea to Reality Center, known as the I2R Center, integrating all stages of the medical device development process. The I2R is positioned to foster collaboration between physicians, engineers, researchers, and industry. The funds were used to design and renovate space, benchmark a world-class failure analysis process, purchase and install equipment, and provide staff training in its use. Main customers include large medical device companies such as Medtronic, Stryker, and Abbott Vascular, as well as startups and inventors who are also often physicians. Current employment at the Jacobs Institute is 48 staff, including a team of 20 engineers with industry-focused project development experience and technical expertise in biomedical, mechanical, and electrical engineering. It is noteworthy that the I2R Center also brings to Buffalo each year around 1,000 physicians and others in the vascular medical device industry. Thank you, and I'm happy to take questions.
All right. Thank you, Karen. Any questions from the board members? No. First item I will move. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Karen, continue, please.
Thank you. The directors are requested to approve $9.1 million in capital grants for an $18 million project from 3 separate funding sources in support of rehabilitation, upgrades, and critical infrastructure repairs to Western New York's iconic asset, Kleinham's Music Hall, which opened in 1940 and is designated as a National Historic Landmark. The original plan was to complete the construction in several phases, but the phased approach was abandoned due to delays caused by the COVID pandemic and increased costs following the delays. An initial $1 million award in 2021 was from Round 9 of the Regional Council Capital Grant Fund. This represented the original first phase of the project. In April of 2022, Governor Hochul announced a grant of $8 million through RECAP, the Regional Economic and Community Assistance Program, after Kleinham's faced a major funding gap for infrastructure repairs. Finally, a $100,000 local assistance appropriation in the fiscal year 2022-23 New York State budget was awarded to provide additional support toward a new roof, boiler, and HVAC system. The project has started with a lower roof replacement and some HVAC work. This will be an ongoing project with completion in December 2025. These upgrades will provide a more environmentally responsible building that saves energy and reduces operating costs. It will also help preserve and enhance Kleinham Music Hall so future generations will continue to enjoy top-notch entertainment and cultural representations. Thank you, and again, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Karen. Any questions from the board? Okay, I will move it. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Item E.
The directors are requested to approve a $600,000 capital grant from Round 9 of the Regional Council Capital Fund for a portion of the cost of a $3 million project to Jobs for Babcock II LLC, the building owner and related entity to Buffalo Filmworks, which operates film studios in Buffalo. The funds were used for the rehabilitation of a 185,000 square foot former manufacturing building into a massive 80,000 square foot soundstage referred to as Stage 4 for film production. The funds supported construction and the installation of new machinery, equipment, and fixtures. Stage 4 complements 3 existing sound stages in an adjacent building. Buffalo Filmworks currently has 7 employees, 3 jobs were retained, and they created 4 new jobs. When films are in production, there can be between 100 and 250 people working on site daily. Completion of the project allows Buffalo Filmworks to provide 4 different sets for film production, helping Buffalo stay competitive in the film production industry while serving as an economic driver to Buffalo when Hollywood brings production crews to town. Thank you. Happy to answer questions.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? No. Okay, I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Last item, F, please.
The directors are requested to approve a working capital grant of up to $30 million from the Local Assistance 22-23 Innovation Venture Competition Program to be used to support 43 North LLC's 2022 through 2026 $5 million business plan competitions and its winners. 43 North LLC is a for-profit company owned by its sole member entity. The working capital funds will be used for equity investment awards and high growth startup competition winners, mentoring, incubation, and operational costs. It supports administration of the competitions, including global outreach and marketing, application review and processing, and production of 42 North Finals, an eagerly anticipated annual spotlight event where the winners are announced. The winners must establish or expand their business operations in Western New York for at least 1 year and provide 43 North with 5% company equity. The 42 North Business Plan competition was first launched in February of 20 equity. The 42 North Business Plan competition was first launched in February of 2014 as the largest business competition in the United States. In 2017, New York State allocated an additional $25 million to expand the services it provided to the winners and continue the competition through 2021. In the 2022-23 New York State budget, Governor Kathy Hochul addressed the need to continue to fund innovation venture competitions across the state by allocating a cumulative $75 million for their operations, including this allocation of up to $30 million specifically for 43 North. Through January 2023, 43 North portfolio includes 64 companies that support over 1,000 Western New York-based jobs. The 43 North Business Plan competition also introduces and attracts new venture investors to the region. With this Phase 3 Working Capital Award, 43 North aspires to greatly reduce ESD's level of fiscal support in future years by structuring the winners' equity investment awards to provide 43 North LLC a mechanism to capture equity upside from winners that are successful. Thank you. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, well, great. Any questions for Karen? There are none. I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Karen, all four of your motions are approved. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you. Let's move over to Central New York. We have two items, and Daniel Polinsky, our Acting Regional Director. Daniel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, directors. Today, the directors are being asked to approve a Round 9 Regional Council Capital Fund grant of $2 million to be used as a portion of the cost to construct a dairy force main and pretreatment system, expand the existing secondary treatment tanks, install a new high-strength organic receiving area, and 2 anaerobic digesters at the wastewater treatment facility in the city of Oneida in Madison County. HP Hood is a dairy processor in the city and is a significant employer. Waste from their facility was utilizing most of the treatment capacity at the wastewater facility and was hindering economic growth in the city. These improvements will allow the facility to accept more organic waste, thus saving companies from shipping it to landfills, and will allow for business expansions in and attraction to the city. Total budget for the project is $43 million for infrastructure upgrades to the city's treatment plant. ESD's participation in the project will be $2 million, which represents 4.7% of project costs. The project is consistent with the CNY REDC strategy of environmental justice and tourism by protecting the Oneida Creek and business development in our urban cores through expanded wastewater treatment capabilities. Take any questions.
Thank you, Daniel. Any questions? No. I will move it. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Next.
The directors are being asked to approve a Round 7 Regional Council Capital Fund grant of $900,000 to be used as a portion of the cost to acquire and renovate a formerly vacant building and lot in downtown Auburn, Keyhoe County into a brewery space that also includes a tasting room, retail area, event space, and a canning line. Founded in 2014, Prison City is a privately owned limited liability company that began as a 70-seat brew pub in downtown Auburn. Since its founding, Prison City has acquired and opened an additional location in Auburn, and the company's production has grown from an on-premise small batch brewing to production brewing, packaging, and distribution, selling beers throughout the state. The total budget for the project is $4.8 million for business expansion involving job creation and retention. ESD participation in the project will be $900,000, which represents 19% of project costs. The project is consistent with the CNY REDC strategy to invest in projects involving new job creation, redevelopment of long vacant properties, and creation of more vibrant downtowns.
Hey, Daniel, Prison City is a pretty interesting name. Is there a correctional facility in the community? And is that
There is, yes.
Good. Is it still operating?
It does, yes.
Good.
Just because nobody wants to leave.
You gotta love Cap. Yeah, very good. Good, Cap. All right, so I look forward to tasting that someday. So thank you, Daniel. Any other questions for Daniel? All right, so I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move up to the North Country. Stephen Hunt, our regional director, will present a project to us.
Thank you, Chairman. The directors are being asked to approve $6 million to Agrimark, Inc. to support a $31.6 million project to reconstruct their cheese-making facility in Chateauguay, New York, which is in Franklin County. The reconstruction project includes demolition, re-engineering the layout, new machinery, and rebuilding the current 110,000 square foot space. Agrimark applied for funding through the round 4 of the consolidated funding application process, as well as the economic transformation program, which was aimed to counter the job loss and other negative economic impacts in the region resulting from the closure of the Chateauguay Correctional Facility. The project was a North Country REDC priority and aligns with the region's goals of investing in agriculture as the North Country helps feed the region and the world. Without financial assistance from ESD, Agrimark would not have been able to undertake this modernization project. The investment further supports the retention of 106 jobs and benefits over 500 family farms in the region. ESD staff signed an incentive proposal with the company in October 2015 for 2 grant awards, including a $2 million grant from the Regional Council Capital Fund and a $4 million grant from the Economic Transformation Program. The modernization project is now complete. 106 full-time employees are at the project site, and the company has satisfied its obligations under the incentive proposal. ESD is now recommending that the board authorize the release of funds for this project.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Any questions for Steve? Hearing none, I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you. We're back to Mike Uvalli again for 2 items for us. So let's take them one at a time, Michael.
Great, thank you. This morning, I'll be requesting the directors to approve a $280,000 capital grant to the Capital District Cooperative, Inc. for a portion of the costs associated with the construction of a new building, including the installation of machinery and equipment to create an indoor farmers market with event space in the village of Menands, Albany County. The project was a CREDC Round 9 priority project with a total project cost of $1.4 million. Capital District Cooperative, Inc. is a farmer-owned organization formed in 1933 and is one of the only wholesale farmers market that is owned and run by farmers that is in operation today. The 120-plus stockholders are themselves growers who hail from 15 counties surrounding the Capital District. The Capital District Co-op demolished an existing open-air shed and built a 22,400 square foot multi-use building to create an indoor farmers market complete with 60 stalls for vendors. The building, which essentially is open air, the walls are large garage doors, so they can close those during inclement weather. It also provides easy access for the vendors. The building will be utilized by these members of the cooperative for wholesale of locally grown flowers and produce, and continuing a tradition that started in 1933. The building will also launch a retail farmers market for the public to purchase local food, flowers, crafts, and wine and spirits. The project aligns with the CREDC's regional goal of core and also our focus on improving our agricultural assets. The market operates midweek, is very popular, and is basically how much of the locally grown produce in that 15-county region makes its way around to the different outlets.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. I will move it. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Next, Michael.
Again, this morning I'll be requesting directors approve a $2 million regional capital grant to the Empire Riverfront Ventures LLC for a portion of the construction and renovation costs and infrastructure site work, furniture, fixtures, and equipment to undertake a transformative project that included 2 historic but neglected buildings along the Hudson River waterfront to create a new hotel and event space in the village of Coxsackie in Greene County. The project was a CREDC Round 9 priority project. For our purposes, a total project cost of just over $10.8 million, but the project evolved over time, and the developer spent well over $18 million in this transformative project. Empire Riverfront Ventures was formed specifically as a sole purpose entity for undertaking this project. The first building, the Wire, was a former wire manufacturing facility, is a 13,000 square foot banquet hall space with a waterfront bar and is already hosting events such as weddings as well as community events and a local farmers market. The company also constructed the James Newberry Hotel, a high-end boutique hotel with 47 rooms and amenities that will complement the event center and support the region's growing visitation industry. The hotel is a 40,000 square foot building. The project has allowed the company to redevelop the site that's been vacant for 20 years, not contributing to the economy of the region, also creating 38 direct jobs. The project has kickstarted the revitalization of the downtown area and created new commercial opportunities for residents. The project aligns with the CRDC's mission of strengthening communities at their core and making them more attractive to talent and private investment. Again, I mentioned the project has become a catalyst. Coxsackie was chosen as our first New York Forward community as part of the smaller DRI program. So a lot taking place right around this center, and it's that sort of transformative catalyst event is really bringing the whole community together.
Great. Michael, is any of our grant being used for the hotel itself, or is our grant being used for the other aspects of the redevelopment?
The whole redevelopment, the hotel included.
Got it.
Yep. You're going to ask me about the numbers, I'm sure.
No, I'm not going to ask you about it. But I thought we had, is it just sort of a general preference or a policy that we didn't invest money in hotels? Is it just sort of a preference, or is it a policy, or do we normally, we invest if it's a part of a revitalization project?
Right. I mean, you generally avoid like a greenfield hotel, but if it's about a placemaking and
falls under placemaking and revitalization. And as you said, it's been like sort of vacant for 20 years.
Yeah. Yep.
Good. No, it sounds good. So that my bad. I thought maybe when I was on the Long Island REDC, I thought we rejected a project because it had a hotel. Maybe we rejected it for other reasons, which we probably did. So thanks for the clarification. So I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. And the Senior Director of Industry Development to share a project with us.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner. The directors are requested to authorize a $4 million Upstate Revitalization Initiative capital grant for Imperium 3 New York for the completion of a manufacturing facility and renovated space at the former IBM campus in Endicott that will house New York State's first lithium-ion battery gigafactory. This $66 million adaptive reuse project borders a disadvantaged community and will create 232 jobs at full ramp up. I'd like to give you a little bit more background on the project. In September of 2017, Empire State Development offered the company a $4 million award from the Upstate Revitalization Initiative, which the company later accepted. The company was also awarded up to $3.5 million in Excelsior tax credits to create these 232 jobs. Again, the total project, $66 million. The company's made significant investments to date in the 234,000 square foot manufacturing facility. In the project construction, machinery and equipment, the capital aspects of the project is now complete, and the company is satisfied its obligations for the initial disbursement. So Empire State Development is recommending that the board authorize the release of the first tranche of funds for the project. And just a couple kind of noteworthy things. Again, this is a 232 job project. They've created 88 jobs to date. And, again, this is adaptive reuse. It's in a former IBM facility adjacent to a disadvantaged community. The project does align with the Southern Tier strategy to build the greater Binghamton innovation ecosystem and invest in the advanced manufacturing industry, as well as Imperium 3 New York has been a good partner with, for example, the Battery New York Innovation Scale-Up Center that both Empire State Development and the U.S. EDA have supported. So once again, the directors are requested to authorize a $4 million Upstate Revitalization Initiative capital grant for Imperium 3 New York. Thank you, and we'll take any questions.
Great. Thank you, David. Any questions? Hearing none, I will move it. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We'll go over to Mid-Hudson. Linda Malave, our Acting Regional Director.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. The directors are being asked to approve a regional council capital grant of $2,405,000 from the RCCF Round 9 to Instrumentation Laboratory Building Expansion and Renovation Project located in the hamlet of Orangeburg in the town of Orangetown in Rockland County. The organization began work on this priority project in January of 2021 and has completed its work on the site in the spring of 2023 and will be requesting disbursement of the grant. The total project cost is $23 million. Founded in 1959, Instrumentation Laboratory develops, manufactures, and distributes instruments, related reagents, and data management solutions for hospitals and laboratories worldwide for in vitro diagnostic testing. Headquartered in Bedford, Massachusetts, the company has operated a 100,000 square foot manufacturing and technology center on 8 acres in Orangeburg, New York since 1989. Instrumentation Laboratory operates directly in more than 30 countries and in more than 100 territories through distributors. Instrumentation Laboratory has benefited from many years of significant business growth and anticipates continued growth over the next several years. The company requires more space to continue to operate competitively and productively and to sustain this anticipated growth. The company has completed a 52,000 square foot expansion and renovation to its Orangeburg site that will house manufacturing, research and development, warehousing, and office space. IL currently employs 314 full-time employees in Orangeburg and states that this additional space has allowed the company to grow its business locally and create 35 new full-time jobs. We're pleased to report that the company has retained 271 jobs and exceeded their employment goal and has created 43 net new full-time jobs. Without the expansion, the company would have sought to locate these jobs and some current jobs at their corporate headquarters in Massachusetts. This project aligns with the Mid-Hudson Regional Economic Development Council's work strategy that seeks to attract and retain investment in the region's mature and emerging clusters within the tradable sectors of life sciences, advanced manufacturing, and distribution. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right. Any questions for Linda? No. There are none. I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Let's move into where we are located in New York City, and we have 2 presenters, and we'll start with Amber Rangel, and then we'll have Joe Taswell.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, Directors. The Directors are requested to approve the release of funding for the Office of Strategic Workforce Development's Pay for Performance Capacity Building Award to Per Scholas in the amount of $822,000 to support the expansion of Per Scholas's IT Workforce Development Program. This project is from ESD's Office of Strategic Workforce Development, or OSWD, grant programs, which launched last October as part of Governor Hochul's $350 million investment in workforce development enacted in the fiscal year 23 budget. OSWD has $150 million in grant funding for 2 program tracks, a $35 million workforce development capital grant program, and a $115 million pay for performance program that has an operating grant and the achievement-based capacity building awards, which are data and metrics driven. First Goal has applied for a pay for performance capacity building award through round 2 of OSWD's grant funding. Based on the recommendations of the office and ESD commissioner, an incentive proposal was signed and agreeing to provide $822,000 in funding. This amount was calculated based on the number of past successful placements into good jobs through their IT workforce development training programs. The funding will be used to expand Perscolus's existing text training to an additional satellite location in New York City, bringing the total number of satellite training locations to 5, allowing them to serve an additional 100 trainees annually. Through their tech training program, Perscolus provides 12 to 15-week training courses in IT, web services, cybersecurity, and software engineering at no cost to participants. The majority of Perscolus students identify as Black, Indigenous, or people of color, and more than 50% have a high school degree as their highest level of education. Perscolus's learner support team provides a suite of wraparound services and barrier mitigation to ensure participants get to and through training and successfully placed into skilled tech jobs. We are recommending that the board authorize the release of funds to support the expansion of Perscolus's IT training program, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Amber. Any questions for Amber?
Yeah.
Hilda.
Do we follow the trainees and what is the rate of employment?
So we will be, yes, we will have extensive data reporting requirements, including completion rates, job placement rates, and we will be requesting reporting on the salary increases and salary growth.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so I will move it. Hilda seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Amber. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The directors are requested to approve 3 capital grants totaling $850,000 to the New York Botanical Garden in connection with the restoration of the garden's Haupt Conservatory, a preeminent Victoria-style glasshouse that was built in 1902. These 3 grants include 2 Regional Council Capital Fund grants of $250,000 and $500,000 awarded in rounds 5 and 6, respectively, as well as a Market New York grant of $100,000 also awarded in round 6. The project was designated as a New York City Regional Council priority project in round 6 in support of the council's strategy to support tourism and improving quality of life. Founded in 1891, the New York Botanical Garden is distinguished by the beauty of its landscape, collections, gardens, and the scope and excellence of its programs in horticulture, education, and science. The 250-acre garden is the largest in any city in the United States and is a National Historic Landmark. More than 1 million visitors annually enjoy the grounds, view innovative exhibitions, and participate in educational programs. The garden is also an anchor employer in the Bronx, employing over 470 full-time staff and 250 part-time staff. The garden's robust exhibition programs drive its employment, and the heart of these exhibitions is the Haupt Conservatory. The project has a total project cost of $14.85 million and includes the restoration of the conservatory's palm dome, including its steel structure and exterior facade, efficiency upgrades to the conservatory's steam boilers and radiator systems, new lighting for the conservatory exhibitions and pathways, and accessibility improvements to the restroom facilities. These improvements will increase energy efficiency, restore the building's structural integrity, and augment the conservatory's attraction of tourists. The project construction began in 2019 and was completed in June 2020, and the grant disbursement milestones have been met. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Any questions for Joseph? No. Hearing none, I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. And just for the record, no comments from the public on this or any of the resolutions we've approved so far. So I think I got the aye from Debbie before, not mentioning that. No comments from the public on any of the resolutions we've just approved so far. Thank you, Joseph. Now on to the Market New York Grant Program, and we have Kelly Baccarizzo, our Director of Tourism Grant Programs.
Yes, good morning, Chairman, and to the directors. This morning looks like it's an amazing day for gardens in New York State, as the Division of Tourism has two Market New York projects at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden for your consideration today. The Brooklyn Botanic Garden Corporation, Inc. is a New York City-based not-for-profit botanical garden with a mission of community engagement and education through visitation to their attraction. Brooklyn Botanic Garden was awarded 2 tourism capital construction grants for 2 different accessibility projects. The first project, awarded in 2016, round 6 of the Regional Economic Development Council, was for a $500,000 grant for a portion of the cost to construct a new garden exhibit, the Woodland exhibit, and improve accessibility to this attraction. The second capital grant, awarded in 2017, round 7 of the Regional Economic Development Council, was for $800,000 and a portion of the cost to make capital changes to the Overlook Path and Garden exhibit to also make accessibility improvements at this destination. Both tourism capital projects met separate 80% matches for the individual projects, and as a result of the completed updates, these initiatives will increase visitation to the New York City tourism attraction. Both of these projects are completed, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Any questions for Kelly? Nope. Hearing none. No comments from the public. I will move it. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, we have, at the direction of projects now, Simone Bethune, our Senior Project Manager and Coordinator of Projects for Loans and Grants.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a reminder, at the direction of grants, refer to those commitments listed in the New York State budget that enhance the state's communities through cultural, educational, research and development, and civic organizations. These projects originate from the governor or the New York State Assembly or Senate, and ESD is named to administer the funding. ESD does not select the recipients of funding. For the first item, we're seeking director's approval of a $450,000 fiscal year 2022-23 appropriation made at the direction of New York State Senator Joseph A. Griffo of the 53rd Senate District to Oneida County for renovations to an unoccupied airplane hangar at Griffith International Airport. The county completed creation of the Sky Dome, a 55,000 square foot unmanned aircraft testing and research facility between April 2021 and December 2020. Sky Dome will serve as the largest indoor facility in the United States for connected and unmanned drone testing. The facility is expected to attract modern businesses that will advance the financial, STEM, and unmanned aircraft systems. And total project costs are expected to be approximately $13 million. For the second item, the directors are being requested to modify a previously approved $47 million commitment to the Adirondack North Country Sports Council to authorize an additional $4 million appropriation and funding from the World University Games Project Fund to the 2023 Winter University Games in Lake Placid at the direction of the Executive Chamber. This award will fund the development of a 5-year implementation plan to secure the 2023 Winter University Games, the largest international winter multi-sporting event for student athletes. An initial award of $5 million was authorized in fiscal year 2019-20 and approved by the board on January 16, 2020 to fund the operation and functions of the games, including development of comprehensive branding, marketing, communication, security, and logistics. Following this, another $5 million was authorized in 2021-22 and approved by the board on January 20, 2022 for the same objective. In fiscal year 22-23, a $35 million appropriation was made to the project from the Executive Chamber and approved by ESD May 2022 to be applied not only to the operational functions but also to capital costs associated with the lease and fit out of the game's main operations center. And in January 2023, a $2 million appropriation was made, bringing the total assistance to $47 million. Today, we are returning to the board for approval of a $4 million appropriation, which will bring the total amount awarded to $51 million. This grant will also be made from the World University Games Project Fund and will continue to cover capital and working capital. The project is estimated to be complete in September 2023, and the games will run from January 12th to January 22nd, 2024. Thank you.
Simone or Hope, how often are the Winter Games? Are they like the Olympics every 4 years, or do we do that every year?
I think they're every 2 years.
But they're all over.
All over the world.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, and how
Yeah.
often do we host them? I know we did it last year here.
For a while.
It'll be a while, but so these grants help to maintain the
Well,
facility, so we're able to attract them. in the
Other
future.
kinds of events.
Other-
So not only the university games, but other kinds of competitive winter sports events.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, thank you. Any other questions for Simone? I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Simone. Carlene,
Thank you.
who's here with us in person, you're up now for a Connect All item.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Directors. It is my pleasure to present this item on behalf of the Connect All office. This item concerns 3 settlement orders that were issued by the New York State Public Service Commission. Under the settlement orders, the Connect All office is required to direct the deployment of settlement proceeds that are being held in escrow. These proceeds are intended to fund initiatives focused on expanding broadband access across New York State. The settlement orders direct the Connect All office to partner with the State Department of Public Service to implement and administer the settlement terms and conditions. The first of the 3 PSC settlement orders was issued on July 11th, 2019, and adopted a settlement agreement that required Charter Communications to deposit $6 million into an escrow account. The stated purpose of the settlement was to resolve a dispute between DPS and Charter regarding whether Charter had failed to comply with the terms of a 2016 network build-out plan. The second PSC settlement order was issued on October 7th, 2021, and adopted a settlement agreement that required Frontier Telephone of Rochester to deposit $5 million into an escrow account, and further required Rochester Gas and Electric Corporation, RG&E, to deposit $2.5 million into an escrow account. The stated purpose of the settlements was to resolve claims that both Frontier and RG&E had failed to comply with policies and prior orders concerning approval processes and rental rates for pole attachments attached to utility poles that were owned by these entities. The third and final PSC settlement order was issued on January 20th, 2022, and adopted a settlement agreement that required Greenlight Networks to deposit $2.5 million into an escrow account. The stated purpose of the settlement was to resolve claims that Greenlight had failed to comply with policies concerning the placement of its equipment attachments on utility poles owned by other entities. In total, there are $16 million in settlement proceeds at issue. The Public Service Commission has determined that it will serve the public interest to approve these privately negotiated settlement terms and to dedicate the settlement proceeds to support the expansion of broadband access in unserved and underserved areas across New York State. The directors are requested to do the following: First, to authorize the implementation and administration by the Connect All office of the terms and conditions of the PSC settlement orders. Second, to find that the requested action will not result in the displacement of families or individuals, as is required by Section 10G of the UDC Act. And finally, to authorize the taking of related actions, including but not limited to entering into agreements with DPS to coordinate activities as required by the PSC settlement orders. I'll note that we're also joined today by the Connect All Office's SVP, Josh Breitbart. Josh can address any general operational inquiries. If the chair permits, Josh and I would be happy to field any questions, if there are any.
Thank you, Carlene. One question. The $16 million that PSC settled with these carriers, is that money going to be spent through our Connect All office?
It will be spent through our Connect All office. We'll have to negotiate sort of terms and guidelines with DPS, but yes.
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, Carlene. Okay, we have some New York Ventures, SSBCI investments. We have 2 presenters, and we need 4 separate votes. So Ryoko Nozara, our Senior Director of New York Ventures, has 3 items, and then Heidi Knobloch has 1. So Ryoko, let's start with you. We'll do 1, and then we'll take a vote, and then 2, the second item, then we'll take a vote, and so on.
Thank you. Good morning, directors. Today, I am requesting the directors to authorize 3 allocations as part of that State Small Business Credit Initiative, SSBCI, Emerging and Regional Partner Program Fund. The Emerging and Regional Manager Fund is a $102 million program using federal SSBCI funding to provide equity investments for venture capital fund managers that invest in high-growth New York State companies. On September 15, 2022, the directors authorized the implementation of this program. This is an equity investment program and not a grant. We invest in venture capital funds led by emerging managers or those focused on underserved regions. The fund managers will invest this capital into high-growth startups in New York State. The managers must invest its funds that they raised outside of the New York State SSBCI program into the same startups at a minimum ratio of 1-to-1. Upon a liquidity event of the fund manager's investment, ESD, as well as the other private investors, first recaptures its total invested capital, and then the profit is split between ESD, the other investors, and the fund managers. ESD will reinvest the proceeds into New York Ventures programs to grow the innovation ecosystem in New York State. Applications will be reviewed until the funds are exhausted. New York Ventures staff conducts the due diligence evaluation of each application with several staff members involved. Staff evaluates the fund manager's experience and track record, as well as its plans and ability to support startups in New York State. Main parts of this due diligence process entail reviewing the material submitted, conducting several interviews, legal review, and reference checking from both investors and portfolio companies. As a result of this analysis, it is believed that each of these proposed investments will serve the interest of New York State. I will now go into each of the 3 proposed investments. First, we propose investing in AIN Ventures for up to $4 million. AIN Ventures is a New York City-based venture capital firm that invests in high-growth companies. It is co-managed by 2 veterans, a former Army officer and a former naval officer. AIN Ventures is raising and investing out of its first fund. It is focused on startups with advanced technologies that require extensive research and development, specifically in the space, health, and sustainability sectors. It also focuses on veteran-led startups. We propose investing in AIN Ventures in tranches. The initial commitment is $2 million, with the additional $2 million to follow when it raises additional investment into the fund from other investors. The proposed investment is up to $4 million in total. Secondly, we propose investing in Collide Capital for up to $5 million. Collide Capital is also a New York City-based venture capital firm. It is being led by two African-American founding partners who have extensive experience in supporting startups. This is their second fund after raising and investing out of a smaller fund. They were able to raise more than they had targeted. Collide Capital invests in startups that focus on enterprise software, supply chain infrastructure, a young generation of conscious consumer. A large number of their investments are made to diverse founders. In addition to investing in supporting startups, Collide Capital works with undergraduate and graduate students to provide hands-on experience in venture capital and to expand its reach in university campuses. Through this model, Collide Capital is able to build startup communities in various regions, including upstate New York. Lastly, we propose investing in Impelent Ventures for up to $5 million. Impelent Ventures is a Rochester-based venture capital firm. While it does not have a geographical restriction on its investment, it has made a number of investments in upstate New York and New York City-based companies. Impelent Ventures' role in upstate New York startup ecosystem is significant, given the region is often overlooked by venture investors, and they are active members in the community as investors and venture ecosystem builders. This is their second fund. Impelent Ventures is focused on startups in sectors that are growing quickly, such as artificial intelligence, enterprise software, healthcare, and robotics. We propose investing in Impelent Ventures in tranches. The initial commitment is $3 million, with the additional $2 million to follow when it raises additional investment into the fund from other investors. The proposed investment is up to $5 million in total. The New York Ventures team recommends the directors to authorize all three of the investments in AIN Ventures, Collide Capital, and Impelent Ventures. And I am happy to answer any of the questions that you may have.
Okay. I guess we're now going to vote individually. Any questions for Ryoko? All right. For the first item for AIN Ventures, I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. And there were no comments from the public on that or on any of these matters, nor were there any comments from the public on Carlene's matter. For the item on Collide Capital, I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. And for Impelent Ventures item, I will move it. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion for all three items carries. Thank you, Ryoko.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Heidi Knobloch, our Senior Director of Entrepreneurship Development.
Authorize an allocation of the SSBCI Community and Regional Partner Fund program to launch New York. The Community and Regional Partner Fund is a $52 million program using federal SSBCI funding to provide equity investments for high-growth New York State companies that participate in select accelerator or incubator programs. On September 15th, 2022, the directors authorized the implementation and administration of this program, which requires a one-to-one match. On April 20th, 2023, the directors authorized two investments from the Community and Regional Partner Fund totaling $10 million, $5 million to Cornell University, and $5 million to Lightship Capital. This is an equity program. ESD will reinvest any returns into activities to grow the innovation entrepreneurial ecosystem. Applications for this program are reviewed monthly until the funds are exhausted. As part of the scoring and due diligence process, staff evaluated the company's accelerator plan and growth prospects. As a result of that analysis, it is believed this investment will serve the goals of the program and the interests of SETI founders. The funds being requested are to invest in the companies that are part of accelerator programs, not for the operation of the accelerators, and will be used to make investments in early stage New York companies that have the potential to scale. Today, I'm asking the directors to authorize an investment of up to $5 million into Launch New York LP Fund 2 in multiple tranches. The initial tranche will be $2 million, and additional tranches totaling up to $3 million may follow, provided Launch New York meets the requirements of the SSBCI program. As a result of the SSBCI investment, Launch New York has committed to make a one-to-one matching investment of up to $5 million in the fund. The program and the funds will be run and deployed over 3 years. With the proposed allocation, Launch New York will make equity investments in early-stage companies that have the potential to scale through its well-established entrepreneur in residence curriculum for early-stage companies that combines virtual and in-person programming. The investment proposed today would serve entrepreneurs across the state and focus on underserved entrepreneurs outside of New York City, where the need for risk capital is greatest. The potential opportunity offered warrants investment, and staff recommends the approval of this investment award. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Heidi. Any questions for Heidi? Okay. Hearing none, no comments from the public. I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Okay, we're almost there. Empire State New Market Corporation. We have two items that require two separate votes. We have John Evan Hornsby. He's the president of Empire State New Market Corporation, and we'll take each item separately.
Thank you, and good morning. The New Markets Tax Credit Program was created in 2000 to help encourage private investment in low-income communities by offering federal tax credits in exchange for equity investments into financial intermediaries known as community development entities, or CDEs. CDEs then use the proceeds of those equity investments to make low-interest loans to borrowers located in low-income communities or serving low-income populations. Empire State New Market Corporation, a certified community development entity, is the ESD subsidiary responsible for managing the state's New Markets tax credit effort. The NMTC program is administered by the Department of Treasury's Community Development Financial Institutions Fund. ESNMC has received 3 allocations of federal New Markets tax credits from the CDFI fund to date, totaling $130 million. Its most recent $45 million award was received in October 2022 for the 2021 allocation round. So far, ESNMC has used $9 million of the $45 million allocation in connection with the GLOW YMCA project in Batavia, New York. Although the ESNMC Board of Directors approved projects for NMTC purposes, the New York State Urban Development Corporation Act requires ESD Board of Directors to separately determine that any such projects would otherwise be approved by ESD and demonstrate one or more goals detailed in the materials. On July 18, 2023, ESNMC approved an allocation of up to $10 million of federal New Markets tax credits to make qualified low-income community investments to Flanagan Square ESG LLC for the Flanagan Square Mixed-Use Development Project in Troy, New York. The investments will finance the development of approximately 60,000 square feet of commercial space, including a grocery store, fitness gym, daycare center, healthcare facility, and other retail and community service space, and 72 units of mixed-income housing to increase access to critical goods and services in Troy, a highly distressed community. The project is expected to create 93 permanent full-time jobs and 80 temporary construction jobs. Detailed project and financing information can be found in the board materials. In addition to approving the allocation of NMTCs for the project, ESNMC Board approved operative documents and all other related steps to consummate the transaction. ESNMC's Project Review Committee and the ESNMC Advisory Board have already recommended this project for investment. The project will comply with all applicable NMTC program requirements. ESD is required to approve the project, and ESNMC will comply with applicable federal tax laws and consummate the transaction. New York state legislation requires ESD to select and prioritize projects demonstrating certain goals. Based on the anticipated community impacts, the project has been selected as meeting the following goals: creating or retaining jobs in a low-income community, increasing the provision of goods and services for low-income community residents which would otherwise not be available at the same price or quality, supporting minority and women-owned or controlled businesses, expanding housing opportunities for low-income community persons, and supporting efforts that otherwise benefit low-income community residents by leveraging further investment in their communities. In addition to setting the goals, the legislation requires projects be limited to projects that would be authorized under the UDC Act and shall be subject to approval by the Board of the Urban Development Corporation. By adopting the ESNMC General Project Plan, finding the project achieved one or more of the goals, and making all other related findings, including conducting a hearing and an environmental review, this project would be authorized by the UDC Act. The project has significant local, regional, and state support. ESD is expected to provide $5.7 million in grants toward the mixed-use development that ESNMC is financing, and up to an additional $1 million grant for other residential portions of the development. The project, as well as additional phases of development, is part of Troy's Downtown Revitalization Initiative. The directors are requested to make findings and determinations to prioritize and approve the project, adopt and ratify ESNMC board findings and project plan, general project plan, and make a determination of no significant effect on the environment, and take related actions. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, John Evan. Any questions for John? All right. If not, we have no comments from the public. I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Next, John Evan.
Thank you. On July 18th, 2023, Empire State New Market Corporation also approved an allocation of up to $10.5 million of federal New Markets tax credits to make qualified low-income community investments to 3 separate borrowers to finance the construction, renovation, and/or equipment purchase at 3 Bogopah food stores in highly distressed communities in Brooklyn, New York. The food stores operate under the Food Bazaar brand, and all stores are in NYC Fresh Zones, which were established to encourage stores in underserved communities to provide a full range of grocery products, including fresh meat, fruit, and vegetables. The project is expected to retain 241 and create 103 permanent full-time jobs. Detailed project and financing information can be found in the board materials. In addition to approving the allocation of NMTCs for the project, the ESNMC board approved operative documents and all other related steps to consummate the transaction. ESNMC's Project Review Committee and the ESNMC Advisory Board have already recommended this project for investment. The project will comply with all applicable NMTC program requirements. ESD is required to approve the project, and the ESNMC will comply with applicable federal tax laws and consummate the transaction. New York State legislation requires ESD to select and prioritize projects demonstrating certain goals. Based on the anticipated community impacts, the project has been selected as meeting the following goals: creating and retaining jobs in low-income communities, and increasing the provision of goods and services for low-income community residents which would otherwise not be available at the same price or quality. In addition to setting the goals, legislation requires that projects be limited to projects that would be authorized under the UDC Act and shall be subject to approval by the Board of the Urban Development Corporation. By adopting the general project plan, finding the project achieved one or more of the goals, and making all other required findings, including conducting a hearing and an environmental review, the project would be authorized by the UDC Act. The directors are requested to make findings and determinations to prioritize and approve the project, adopt and ratify ESNMC board findings and general project plan, make a determination of no significant effect on the environment, and take related actions. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
All righty. Thank you, John Evan. Any questions? No? I will move it. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. No comments from the public. The item is approved. Thank you, John Evan. All right. We only, almost there. 2 other items. Well, one, the umbrella item. But next up, we have Joan Spivak, our Assistant VP for Life Sciences, with an item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning. Today, we are seeking the Director's approval for 4 Round 1 Biodefense Commercialization Fund working capital grants totaling up to $1,481,295 to the following academic institutions: $500,000 to the City University of New York for a project led by Dr. Adam Braunschweig, focusing on the development of broad-spectrum antiviral treatment; $381,000 to Columbia University for a project led by Dr. Rafal Tokars to develop TIC-DX, a serologic assay for use in clinical laboratories to diagnose tick-borne diseases. $350,295 to the Rockefeller University for a project led by Dr. Mike Rout to develop inexpensive and superior nanobodies for neutralizing SARS-CoV-2 and its variants, and $250,000 to Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai for a project led by Dr. Domenico Tortorella to develop broadly neutralizing antibodies against current and future henipaviruses, which can cause severe illness. Each of these projects was recommended for funding based on the review and evaluation by experts in the field. The $40 million Biodefense Commercialization Fund provides grants to startup companies and academic institutions to accelerate the development and commercialization of life science innovations that address serious infectious disease threats while also creating jobs and encouraging growth across New York's expanding life science industry. Each of the 4 institutions has begun work on their grants, met the required spending thresholds for initial disbursements, and has been recommended by mentors to proceed to the next technical milestones. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Any questions for Joan? No, thank you. Materials were sent to us earlier on this, like for all the other projects. No comments from the public. I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. And the motion carries. And next up, our last item, we will have Doug Janice, our senior counsel, walk us through the administrative action items presented in summary format, where we get to do one vote for all 9 items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, directors. As a reminder, as the chairman just mentioned, in order to help streamline our board meetings, we previously implemented an oral summary presentation process in connection with the administrative action section of our agenda. So you each receive a full set of the written descriptive materials for each of these items, as you have for this meeting. But rather than having individual oral presentations made on each, I will provide a brief summary of the items. At the conclusion of the summary, staff can entertain any comments or questions the directors may have. So the 9 administrative items submitted for your consideration today and for which you have received the written materials are summarized as follows. Item 8A is relative to authorization to make statutory payments as part of the Electric Generation Facility Cessation Mitigation Program. The board is being asked to approve 2 payments pursuant to this program. These payments will offset reductions in property tax revenue to 2 local government entities due to the closure of electric generating facilities in their respective jurisdictions. The first, to the town of Tonawanda, in the amount of $446,685, is due to the closure of the Huntley Electric Generating Facility in March of 2016. And the second, to the Lansing Central School District, in the amount of $228,247, is due to the closure of the Cayuga Electric Generating Facility in November of 2019. Approval of these payments will bring total disbursements from the fund to approximately $59 million of the $140 million authorized for this program. Item 8B is relative to authorization to enter into a contract for program administration consultant services for the Niagara Falls City Market project in Niagara Falls, New York. The directors are asked to approve an 18-month contract that would provide up to $528,989 to a team led by Market Ventures, Inc. of Portland, Maine, and including a series of New York-based subconsultants to undertake a planning process to develop a business plan for the revitalization of the Niagara Falls City Market in Niagara Falls, New York. This work is a component of ESD's 3-city regional revitalization partnership with the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation and local government. Item 8C is relative to authorization to enter into a contract for program administrative consultant services for the Broadway Market project in Buffalo, New York. The directors are asked to approve a 3-year contract for up to $585,835 for James Lima Planning and Development of New York City to assist in operationalizing components of the completed business plan for the revitalization of the Broadway Market in Buffalo, New York, and to help stand up a new not-for-profit corporation that will take over operations of this public market from the city of Buffalo. This work is being funded under ESD's East Side Corridors Economic Development Fund and will complement a parallel effort of approximately $35 million capital upgrade for the market. Item 8D is relative to authorization to enter into a contract with Cornell University for research and development services for the New York State Apple industry relating to the Apple Research and Development Program. Staff is requesting board approval of a $449,120 contract with Cornell University in association with the Apple Research and Development Program. Under this contract, Cornell will be conducting various research projects dealing with weed control, sustainable pollination, pest control, and climate adaptation. Item 8E is relative to authorization to enter into a contract with the New York State Apple Association, Inc. for marketing and promotional services of the New York State Apple industry relating to the Apple Marketing Order Program. Staff is requesting board approval of a $1,552,519.50 contract with the New York Apple Association in connection with the Apple Marketing Order Program. New York Apple Association will use these funds to conduct a variety of marketing endeavors that promote the New York State Apple industry through retail, schools, restaurants, and more. Item 8F is relative to authorization to enter into an amended contract with Hodgson Russ LLP to continue to provide legal services in connection with the Buffalo Bills Stadium project. The board is being asked to authorize the amendment of a contract with Hodgson Russ LLP to provide legal services to ESD and its subsidiary, the Erie County Stadium Corporation, with respect to the Buffalo Bills Stadium project. The amendment will increase the size of the amount of the contract from $225,000 to $425,000 and will extend the term through completion of the project. As construction of the stadium is ongoing and the stadium and adjoining property will be transferred to the Stadium Corporation when construction is completed in 2026, services of Hodgson Russ will be needed until project completion. Item 8G is relative to authorization to enter into a contract with Baker, Donaldson, Behrman, Caldwell, and Berkowitz PC for military installation consulting services. Staff is requesting board authorization to enter into contract for military installation consulting services and authorization to take related actions. Baker Donaldson works to identify growth opportunities and retention strategies that keep New York State military installations as economic development contributors and job generators for the state and local communities. The contract amount is not to exceed $1,518,000 and will include the first year, options for 3 additional years, and a 10% contingency. Item 8H is relative to the establishment of a pre-qualified list of suppliers for information technology goods and services. To enable ESD to respond to its IT needs expeditiously, the IT staff requires a pre-approved list of external, highly qualified IT consultants, service providers, and hardware and software companies to support ESD's IT team to maintain the IT infrastructure. As a result, ESD conducted a broad solicitation of IT companies, reviewed the submissions, and selected a qualified list of IT vendors recommended for adoption. The IT department is hereby requesting approval of the pre-qualified list and recommends that the pre-qualified list remain in effect for 3 years, with the option to renew for 1 additional year at the discretion of the Deputy Commissioner of IT. Our final item, item 8I, is relative to the authorization to approve additional funds for and to extend the contracts of current temporary legal staffing firms assisting with expediting MWBE application appeals. Directors are being asked to extend the contracts of the current pre-qualified temporary legal staffing firms for an additional year and to authorize an additional $750,000 in funding to continue the process of expediting MWBE application appeals. Significant progress has been made to date, but additional funds are required to continue this program. Approval of this item will bring the total funding authorization to date to $1,750,000. With that, I will now turn it back over to our chair, who will call for any questions or comments you may have on any of these items before calling for a vote. We also have item-related staff on the line today to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Any questions from the board on any of these items? Okay, we have no comments from the public. We're allowed to approve all of these in one motion. I will move it, and Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. That concludes our business, official business on the agenda today. Does any board member wish to raise any issue or raise any other item here today? Okay, hearing none, that allows us to adjourn our meeting. There is no August meeting. Staff gets a little reprieve for a change. And our next scheduled meeting is Thursday, September 21st. So I hope everybody enjoys the summer and spends time with their family and loved ones and enjoys our beautiful state. And as the song says, we'll see you in September. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, you have to run.